All right, welcome to this week's Points and Miles report here on Traveling on Everyday Spend. As we have a lot of information, don't want to end up wasting any time with this, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into the information that we've got for today. So when it comes to the credit card offers ending soon, we don't have a lot of new things. So I'm just going to highlight a few items. We still have the Alaska Airline credit cards with the bonuses that are going on with the companion fares. Now, obviously, we are expecting the premium credit card for Alaska to come out shortly in this summer. And so that is coming up fast, but we don't see any restrictions that are saying that you can't have two cards. So determine if that might mean something for you. The Air France KLM card is still out there available with the 70,000 bonus miles that are on that one. And cardless with the Qatar Airway Visa credit cards, and we're definitely going to touch on Qatar shortly. Now, those will end June 16th, so that is coming up. And then as far as Chase, the big items are basically the Avios credit cards, where you have the choice of Aer Lingus, British Airway, or Iberia, and 85,000 Avios if you're going to go with a $5,000 spend in the first 3 months, or 100,000 Avios if you go with $7,500 spend in the first 6 months. So both of those links are going to be available to you in the description. And then as far as Chase, we have the United credit cards. We've got one that's going to be ending in June, which is the United Quest. The other credit cards are all July 16th. So there's plenty of time to factor in if any of these United cards are going to be for you. I did do a deep dive on the United credit cards, personal and business, as well as the lounge access changes that were happening. So I'll make sure to have a link for that in the description. And then if you're interested in the Hyatt business card, that has until June 30th for that, and that will run out. The new card that we do have is we do have the Citi Advantage Executive World Elite MasterCard. Of course, that is the flagship personal credit card, $595 as the annual fee. But you do get, in this case, with the elevated offer, it's 100,000 miles for $10,000 worth of spend in the first 3 months. If you're a person that flies American a lot, that may be something that you're interested in. That just came out, so you do have some time to take a look at that. Barclays, we still seem to have all of the cards available. One person did tell me when they did the Aviator Red that they only got the 60,000 miles. Now, the link that I did put in there, which is a generic link, that one still is showing that it's active for 70,000 miles. So if you're interested in that card, just pay attention to see if it's going to be the 60 or the 70,000 miles. As we've talked about, Barclays' time with American Airlines will be coming to an end this year. We just don't know exactly what date. So if you're interested in potentially getting a American Airlines card, the Aviator Red, for a very small welcome buy-in that you have to do, this may be one to take a look at. And so as we look for the transfer bonuses, we do have a couple of changes. We do see now Wyndham has a 25% welcome bonus through June 21st through Citi. And then we do still have Qantas with Capital One, Virgin Atlantic and Air France with Chase, and then as well as Qatar with Citi as well. So we have all of those there for us here. And before I move on, want to say howdy to Matt. Appreciate you stopping in. Matt with the tidbits definitely had a lot of knowledge all this week. From Citi, from the different type of things going on with them, as well as kind of continuing the look at the whole coupon book aspect. Really excellent watch. Always definitely make sure to check him out. Vincent, appreciate you stopping in, sir. Thanks so much. And then Lonnie, appreciate you stopping in. Thank you so much. And I'll take this moment. I've said it to a few people. I want to thank each and every one of you all for each of your views, the subscriptions and all. Was blessed enough to cross 1,000 subscribers yesterday. And it definitely wouldn't have happened without you all support. And I want to thank you all very much. And I always want to encourage you to leave your comments, questions, or anything. I want to make this channel great for everybody. So I really appreciate your input and definitely sincerely appreciate you all's support. So thank you so much. And thank you, Lonnie. Really appreciate it. Now, as far as the points and miles opportunities, as we talk about, I really only try to hit on these for new ones that come up or ones that are about to end, but you'll find the links for all of these in the description to be able to look at and explore. So as far as what we have, as far as new ones, Accor Live Limitless, who continues to pump out a lot of promotions. This one is for up to 20% off for their guest star sale. You need to book by May 27th, but you do have stays between June 27th and September 9th. You do need to be a member, but of course you can sign up for free. That's no issue. And as far as an award sale, so that was going on with that. I'll have a link for that in the description, of course. Now, Air Canada came up with a couple of items to touch on. The first one is you can purchase points with up to 90% bonus. Now, I definitely say your mileage may vary. I did not have one that high, but if you are one of the ones that have it that high, it's 4,000 to 25,000 points would be 40%, 30 to 60,000 points would be 60%, and then 70,000 all the way up to 500,000 miles would be 90%. And if you do get the 90%, that would put you at 1.8 cents per mile, which is relatively competitive to kind of the baseline that we talk about for this. Now, there is a 1 million points limit of purchasing points per year, but the transaction limit is that 500,000 points. You can buy up to for that. So Air Canada, we have 3x for flights between from the US or Canada and the UK. And that is for select UK airports, London Heathrow, Manchester, as well as EDI, I think is, I forget the exact name. But those would be the 3 UK airports that you can be able to fly into. Now, the flights do have to be operated by Air Canada, including Air Canada Express and Rogue. It can't be one of the partners, but you'll get 3x value on those purchases for that period of time. Link is in the description. And then choice privileges, you can purchase points with up to a 30% bonus. That runs through June 20th. And 18,000 points and above will get you 30%. And that's 0.72 cents per point. You can buy up to 180,000 points, I believe. Citi and as far as if you are not looking to purchase points, but just look to transfer, Citi and Wells Fargo is a 1-to-2, which would be the most ideal to be able to do. Or if you don't have points for Citi or Wells Fargo, then American Express and Capital One are doing it on a 1-to-1, but clearly Citi and Wells Fargo would be the best option. And then we have Best Western with the new one of staying 3 nights, receive 10,000 points. Registration is required, which I'll have a link for in the description. You do need to stay between May 12th and September 1st. It applies to any location in the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean, and you're eligible for that 10,000 points twice for a total of 20,000 points. And then we have a new one with Hyatt and Etihad. You can earn 1,000 Etihad miles per stay. You do have to register by July 1st, but your stays can begin between May 15th and complete your stay by July 14th. Now, this does apply to certain countries. It applies to participating properties in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. This can be for cash or free night awards qualify, but not points to be able to get that free night. It has to be a free night certificate, which is a bit odd, but that is their restriction. I didn't see specifically as far as the limit on the Etihad miles you can get on it, but like I said, excuse me, I'll have a description there, a link in the description for that. And Wyndham, we have the mystery bonus of between 25 to 60%. It ends June 5th. Now, you can normally purchase these at 1.3 cents per point, but if you got it all the way to this 60% or so, you're going to be looking at 0.81 cents per point at the 60% mark. For me, I only had 50%. So my numbers at 50% was 25% bonus at 3,000 or more, then 5,000 points or more was 35%, and then 50% kicked in for me at 8,000. You can purchase up to 100,000 points. As far as to try to get an idea of what this means, it is all this year alone, it has already been at 60 and 80%. So while 60% is good, it's definitely not one that is something that you don't see at all. So no need to rush or to do a prepay. But if you do have something to look at, if maybe Vacasa locations, that would be a good one to possibly top off. And then Avianca, we have purchasing miles with up to a 160% bonus. Now that sale ends on May 30th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this is between once you hit 1,000 points, you get the full 160%. So it's not one of those escalating ones. 1,000 to 200,000 points. In 200,000 points is the maximum purchase in a single transaction, with the maximum per year at 500,000 points. So let's move to some quick notes shortly. And John, good evening, sir. Appreciate you getting on. I always talk about John. Me and John have been kind of doing this trek together to get to 1,000. He is coming up fast, and we're going to be able to get there too. If you've not checked him out, he's got some outstanding videos from his trip to Iceland. And I don't know a lot of people that go to Iceland, so he's really provided some really excellent content on his trip there. He recently did one to talk about his redemption, fly with the Delta Sky Pesos. And me and him both love some Delta. So there's some excellent watches for him. So if you haven't been on there lately, make sure to jump on, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything from him. And appreciate the 5. Thanks so much, brother. Really appreciate it. And we got Stacy's travel points. Was there an IHG bonus to miss the start? The IHG bonus that they've got, not anything on the credit card offers, but there was there was some different things for IHG. And I will, because you're asking, Stacy, I am going to take a step back and we will go back. Nothing new though, so I will just kind of hit it quick. And as soon as I can get there, boy, we're going the other direction. There we go. Let's see. Bear with me here. So these are the 3 IHGs that we've got. The biggest one, I think, the biggest one was the newest one from last week, which is the Pick Your Points. 2,000 points for every 2 nights, or 8,000 points for every 4 nights. Now you do have to select which route you're going to go first before you do reservation. So you have to give a little bit of time to figuring out how many stays you're going to do between May 20th and August 31st. Registration is required. I'll have a link for that in the description, but that's really the biggest one in the newest one that's going on. The 15% discount on award stays at new properties, that doesn't require registration and it rotates. You can't stack the 4th night award benefit though on those, but that is one that you'll see a continuous list each month for that. So I hope that helps as far as kind of hitting on what the IHG is looking like. And then let's take a look at so a couple of quick notes to hit. First, we've got 5, this is as of Sunday, the 5% on the city travel is now permanent on the city double cash, as well as the custom cash, no spending or earning limits for that. Etihad will now begin flying from Charlotte to Abu Dhabi beginning in this month. Now, this is going to be the 6th location in the United States where Etihad flies from, which is Boston, Chicago, JFK, Dulles, and then in July, they will be in Atlanta as well. So we've got 2 new locations of where you're going to be, where you can fly Etihad out of. Those ones from Charlotte, there'll be nonstop flights 4 times weekly on the Dreamliner for them. Now, one interesting note that I did not know, but I'm sure there's others of you that knew or have been through Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi Airport has a U.S. Customs and Border Protection pre-clearance facility, which allows passengers flying Etihad to the U.S. to arrive as domestic passengers. So there is no immigration involved. So I thought that was real interesting. I've heard about it, but I hadn't seen of where those were located. The other thing to note is that we've got a 15th anniversary of the Freedom Card. And so they're going to add bonus categories for June. The current Q2 categories are not the most ideal. It's Amazon, which probably a lot of people have Prime cards and other cards for Amazon, and select streaming service. But what they're going to add is they're going to have 5% on up to $1,500. Now, this is not a new $1,500 amount. It's the same $1,500 amount you already have. But they're going to include combined purchases on internet, cable, and phone purchases. The phone purchases was kind of an interesting one to throw in. But let me make sure that we're all on the same page of what internet cable count for. So it obviously is internet cable, but it includes satellite television, so Dish, DirecTV. It also includes satellite radio, so we have Sirius that would be involved, as well as landline services. Now, the purchases of equipment and payments made inside the store, the coding is just up for grabs. There's no guarantee that it's going to hit for that. So just be aware of the possibility that it may not code correctly, depending upon where you're doing a purchase of equipment for that. But I thought it was interesting as far as the satellite radio. For those that have the American Express Platinum card, that was what I used my digital entertainment for on there, and then they took that away. And so I basically have kind of left that almost, I think, pretty much stranded for that. So you do make sure you do activate your Q2 if you haven't done it already, but that should end up being available for you starting in June. And then we have credit goes to Thrifty Traveler. Now, this is for Air France, KLM, Flying Blue, lowering prices on Delta flights now beginning in 2026. So there appears to be widespread 20 to 30% reduction on Delta award flights in 2026. And there is a finite line of where if you look at some December 30th or 31st dates, they are regular price, but as soon as you cross into January or later, you will see some reductions. Now, it is not across the board, but it is pretty widespread. Be aware, though, if you're doing KLM Flying Blue, they do have a change in a cancellation fee on award bookings of roughly about €70. A couple of the examples that they were showing was Minneapolis to Mexico was normally 14,000 miles here in 2025, but in 2026, there are ones that are 9,500. And this relates to economy flights. Atlanta to Chicago, going from 8,000 to 5,500. Minneapolis to Amsterdam, going from 28,000 to 22,500. And then Detroit to Honolulu, going from 30,000 to 24,000. So if you have some flights and you have some KLM Flying Blue, it may be worth for you to look a little bit ahead to see if you're finding some discounts on flights that fit for you. And then we have what has been talked about as far as Citi reducing the cashback redemption on the Strata Premier and the Strata Prestige. And beginning on August 24th, the 1 cent per point redemption is going to go down to 0.75 cents per point. Not ideal, but this credit goes to Dan's Deals, where he ended up contacting them, and he found that if you also have a Citi Double Cash or a Custom Cash along with your Premier or Prestige, you can still be able to get that 1 cent per point. Not the ideal redemption, but we all want to keep our options open. And then Kimpton, if you're not aware, does a social password for their hotels. And so the Kimpton password is to essentially increase engagement between customers and the hotels. And this password is going to be good from May 19th through August 31st. And the password is social sent me. You just let the person at the front desk know that. You don't have to be a person that just checked in. If you're already at a Kimpton, you can be able to still do that. Now, the perks definitely vary from complimentary parking, where applicable sometimes, to complimentary breakfast, although that may be more for Diamond members that might get that option. And then complimentary upgrades as far as also a complimentary bottle of wine. So if you're looking at Kimpton during this period, make sure to know the password and pass that on to the front desk. And let's go back on here. And there was Stacy's. And things might be booking last minute this weekend. Yep, definitely check it out. I'm glad we were able to have something for you for it and enjoy the travel. Vincent said, I've been through that through the CBP pre-clearance in Toronto, right after pre-clearance at I think that's YYZ is Vancouver, I think. Terminal is an Air Canada Maple Leaf Lounge. Okay, that's great. Actually, I'm going to be on my flight to Taipei, going through flying from my hometown to Vancouver and flying from Vancouver to Taipei, and then spend a couple days in Vancouver when we get back. So thanks for pointing that out. I will definitely look that up as well. And John, appreciate always the kind words, sir. Well deserved. So let's now move on to Miami International Airport, which is having some change. And airport I've not been to, but I will be flying through there on my way to Puerto Rico for the content creators meetup there in San Juan. So it was an interesting read for me. So there will be an addition to Miami with Concourse K, as they're calling it, and it's part of a $9 billion project that is going on. Now, this edition of Concourse K will bring 6 new gates. Now, they don't have it slated for who's going to get those gates, if it's international or domestic and what airline. So we're way far from that. But this is the first new concourse, which I found very interesting. First new concourse at Miami since 2007. And Concourse K is actually going to replace Concourse G, which opened way back up in 1957. So construction for Concourse K will begin in 2027, and they hope to open by 2029. This improvement is needed because Miami International Airport is projecting to have 77 million passengers and 5 million tons of cargo on an annual basis by 2040. And from some of the reviews I've read, and I'll be curious if people that have flown through there, is that it's one of the, I won't say the worst, but it's not a pleasant customer experience there at the airport, and really is in need of a lot of revamping and upgrading. So let me know if you have had that experience there, because I'm really curious. And then unfortunately, we found out today about some devaluations regarding benefits on United MileagePlus. So here's the 3 things that we've got, unfortunately. The first one is the excursionist perk, and that is as of August 21st, that will end for any new bookings. And if you're not familiar with excursionist book, the perk, it allows you to get a stopover as part of a multi-city ticket. A lot of people, not myself, I haven't had the opportunity to do it, but a lot of people have really gotten a lot of mileage out of that perk. That's unfortunately going to go away. Now, if you do book a flight before the 21st and have that excursionist perk, they will honor it, but be careful. After August 21st, if you have that excursionist perk in place and you make any changes to that itinerary, that perk will no longer be honored. Even if the changes you made had nothing to do with that stopover, they are going to take that opportunity to not honor that perk. So make sure you're very careful when you do your itinerary. If you're going to try to squeeze one in, don't make any changes. You're going to lose that opportunity. And then also on August 21st, we're going to have instant upgrades change. If you're a premier member with United and on a full fare ticket, they had instant upgrades for you. And this was for eligible travelers who purchased the most expensive economy fares. There's 2 or 3 classes of them. And if they were upgrade availability at the time of booking, the upgrade was confirmed without remaining on the wait list. That will change now. What will happen is the upgrades are going to fall under United's complimentary premier upgrade program, which has different guidelines for that. And then lastly, dynamically priced upgrade awards. Right now, Mileage Plus they have an upgrade award chart so that people know exactly how many miles it takes for them to be able to do an upgrade. They're going to take that out as of August 24th, and they're going to go forward with, fortunately, pricing for upgrades will be dynamic based upon the current situation, the pricing, all of the things we're used to when it comes to dynamic pricing. So if you're a person with United that deals with any of those three things, keep that in mind as far as the dates of August 21st and August 24th. And let's see, Matt said, be interesting if they retrofit the G to modernize it. K is also only be 6 gates for narrow bodies. Appreciate that. I knew it was 6 gates, didn't know it was specific to narrow bodies. So appreciate you being able to provide that additional information, Matt. And let's move back into this. And so let's talk about Bluebird and Serve cards. Now, I have a little interesting story of me of how I even ever heard of these cards, but they are used by some people. So on June 3rd of 2026, American Express will be closing these cards. Now, these are essentially reloadable credit cards with American Express. So the timeline is as of February 24th of 2026, that's going to be the last day you can utilize that card to do bill pay. And then on May 5th, that's going to be the last day that you can add funds to the account. And then on June 3rd of 2026, all of the Bluebird and Serve cards will be closed. Now, be sure if you have one of these cards that you have your email and your mailing address correct with them. And the reason is that if you have any funds remaining on your account as of June 3rd of 2026, if it's $9 or $9.99 or less, it will be in the form of an Amex e-gift card. If it's $10 or more, they will mail you a check. Now, the only reason I ever heard of Serve cards was I had had a second job for a hot minute with a tax preparation place. And what they did is they had a partnership with American Express that did the Serve cards. And there were a lot of people that ended up having those Serve cards for ease of use. I'm sure there were some banking issues in some cases, but they were able to get their tax refunds quicker, and they literally used it every single year. So while this is not necessarily a points and miles technical item, I definitely wanted to kind of bring it to people's attention because it definitely may affect a few people. And then there is a 30% savings that you can get on Etihad premium fares. So now this promotion expires. Boy, did that expire I think I might have trying to check the date. I might have to actually look at this. I'm going to skip this one because I think this one might have already passed. So my apologies on that. I have to look at that. I'll make sure to put something in the pinned comment about this one, about that Etihad one. Now, as far as new hotel openings, I always like to try to bring these out just so that for us that are in the points and miles game, that we're able to see maybe some different hotels that are going to be new that we might be able to use our points and miles on. So the first one is the Hyatt Regency Zadar, and this is in Croatia. And this is going to be the first Hyatt Regency in Croatia overall. It's got a great location, seafront on the Adriatic Sea, 133 guest rooms and suites, 5 restaurants and bars, a 12,000 square foot spa with a steam room, outdoor pools, and I believe it's pronounced hammam. And I believe that is essentially like a Turkish bath, is kind of the equating term for it. $254 per night. It's a category 4. And so that's between 12,000 and 18,000 points out of Hyatt. Then you have the Hilton Astoria Vienna, and it's part of the Curio collection, and it's going to be the first Curio collection item in Vienna, located steps from St. Stephen's Cathedral. 125 rooms, pretty basic with a restaurant and bar, not many, a lot of other amenities. $193 per night, or 42,000 points is kind of where they both start. And then this one kind of blew my mind, though. The Gaylord Pacific Resort and Convention Center in San Diego. just 7 miles from downtown San Diego, and it's the first Gaylord Pacific Resort hotel in California. Now, this is definitely intended to be a destination for meetings. It has 477,000 square feet of meeting and event space. It has 1,600 guest rooms and suites, which is ginormous. They have 12 food and beverage options, but that water park is over 4 acres with slides, lazy river, a wave pool, kids zone, and more. Now, this one is starting at $368 per night, but I can promise you, depending upon different events that may be going on there, that probably will shoot through the roof at different times, but it'll start at $368 per night, 100,000 Marriott points. I'm curious of just seeing how something that big for myself. Now, as far as some upcoming hotels, we have the Andaz one in Bangkok that's going to be opening in December. Now, this will be the first Andaz in Thailand. Now, this came from Shutter Whale, so credit for them. It will be in the One Bangkok development, which is a sustainable smart city project. It'll have premium office towers, luxury residences, retail, as well as public art, 244 rooms and suites. We don't have pricing on this yet, though. Then we have the Hotel Dalival de Europe. This one's going to be opening in summer of 2025, and it's going to be a Hilton out of their Tapestry collection. It's located near Disneyland Paris, and an outlet shopping center and 18 miles from the Paris airport. 94 guest rooms, pretty small, with a pool, fitness center, steakhouse, and a bar. We don't have any numbers for that as well either. Then we have the Four Seasons Puerto Rico, which is going to be opening in late 2025. Now, this one is a rebranding of the St. Regis Bahia Beach. Now, this hotel is already bookable for the scheduled opening of November 20th of 2025. It is on 483 acres along Bahia Beach, 193 guest rooms and suites with plus 85 private residences. They're going to have 10 restaurants and bars, direct access to 2 miles of the white sand beach, walking trails, an 18-hole golf course, spa, and more. Peak season is going to be $2,000 per night. Not something you can do on points and miles, but I always like throwing in one of these ones in there because I just find expensive hotels to be very interesting, even if I'm never going to be there. So that's what we have for the upcoming hotels that are going to be going on. And then we have a quick topic on Bonvoy Elite's not entitled to suites. So this credit goes to View from the Wing. One of their blog members noticed that there was a term and condition change. And so for platinum and above, the writing normally used to be entitled to a complimentary upgrade to the best available room, including standard suites. The terms are no longer guaranteeing best available room. So obviously not an ideal change for this. And while it appears that many do not, I've kind of read a lot of notes in different postings talking about that most people didn't even get those suites to begin with, and that this represents more of kind of a reality that you shouldn't expect to get a suite. But it's still disappointing that it gets removed and takes some of those opportunities off the table. So that is what's going on for the Bonvoy Elites, unfortunately. And then we have the Citi Strata come up. And this Citi Strata is the replacement of the Citi Rewards Plus credit card. So let's touch on a couple of things that go on with this. First, they're going to have an elevated welcome bonus of 30,000 points for $1,000 worth of spend in the first 3 months of account opening. There will no longer be that roundup feature, and they're doing just a very basic way to earn points, which is pretty interesting. You're going to be able to get 5 points per dollar on hotels, car rental, and attractions through citytravel.com. You'll get 3 points per dollar on supermarkets, 3 points per dollar on select transit, but what they are including as select transit includes public transportation, but also gas and EV charging, which is very interesting to kind of lump into transit. Then you have 3 points on a self-select category each quarter, which currently lists fitness clubs, streaming services, live entertainment, cosmetic stores, barbershops, beauty salons, or pet supply stores. Now, the barbershops and beauty salons kind of gives you a little bit of feeling of the Wells Fargo credit card, I believe the Tune, with a little bit more of a lifestyle feel. So it'll be interesting to see how many people select that as their categories. Now, keep in mind, this is not like the Citi Custom Cash, where Citi will just figure out where you spend most of your money or anything. You do need to pick your category for this. And then you'll have 2 points for restaurants. So the 10% points back on the first 100,000 thank you points that used to be with the Rewards Plus credit card, that's no longer there, as well as the roundup feature which we just talked about. And then also the 3% foreign transaction fee, unfortunately, still remains. If you don't really remember what the Rewards Plus card did have, it basically had 2x for supermarkets and gas stations on the first $6,000 every year, and then those points back features that we talked about. So now we have the Citi Strata in place. We have the Citi Strata Premier in place. Seems like it's about time for the Citi Strata Elite. I'm going to expect that maybe we're going to see that before, maybe I'll say by the end of the year, hopefully. I'm sure everybody else has different thoughts, but I think they're kind of ready to wrap this up and finally let us see a premium card out of Citi. And so that's what I'm hoping for, at least. And let's see what we got here. There, anytime. Source King, when is the Park Hyatt Tokyo reopening? I'm not sure on that of when it's supposed to be slated to reopen. I knew it closed, but I had not seen. I'll try to find that, but I'm not definitely sure about that, Source King, and when that's going to be doing the reopening. But I'll take a look at that after the live stream and try to see if I can throw something in the comments for that. But appreciate you asking. And then let's take a look at a Hilton Timeshare. As you all probably know, I've had a bad experience with timeshares. I still remember it like yesterday. In Vegas, my wife wins some money. Thought we would go ahead and just hit a timeshare for some free stuff. Ended up getting the timeshare, ridiculously enough. I never before we got rid of it, I never spent a single day in that timeshare. My wife and my parents did, and my son, they did go one time. I never stepped foot in it. And that's my story. The reason I kind of bring this up is for a couple reasons. I think that if you have the fortitude, which I don't have, if you have the fortitude and you're really kind of getting a start on being able to enjoy the experiences of like vacations that come at a lower cost, even if you're not completely into points and miles or you're kind of just starting off, timeshares can be a really good way to do it. But once again, if you have the fortitude to deal with the hour and a half or 2 hours on this. So we've talked about a couple of them where that was virtual, which were really nice deals to be able to possibly do. But here's the one for Hilton, just for you to have in mind. So this would include a 3-night stay at $199. Hilton members will get 50,000 Hilton Honors points and a $100 prepaid Visa gift card. You do need to book this by May 27th. Unfortunately, reservations are non-refundable and you have to use them within 12 months. There is a 2-hour presentation or a 1-hour presentation if you're already a current owner. So the $199 is for 3 nights in Vegas. Same thing for Orlando. $299 for 3 nights in Myrtle Beach. $299 for 2 nights in New York City. $299 for 2 nights in Chicago. And $299 for 2 nights in DC. You're not eligible for this if you have an open, incomplete package that requires your attendance already, or if you've attended a presentation within the last year. So I just kind of throw that out. If you're able to do something I am just not able to do with that, but it can be kind of low price to free vacation. That might be a nice start for people. And then we have a new series, a new brand out of Marriott, which is called Series by Marriott. And this is basically starting in India. So Marriott has partnered with Concept Hospitality Private Limited, which is an Indian hotel brand, and they are going to launch the Series by Marriott. Now, they say it's supposed to be kind of a regionalized, mid-scale and upscale kind of hotel system. Now, Concept Hospitality's flagship brands are called the Fern Residency, and the Fern Habitat. Now, they will be affiliated with this series brand. And those three brands have 80 hotels that are open and another 31 in the pipeline, with a total of 8,000 rooms between them all. Now, Marriott is already saying that they are in talks to bring the Series by Marriott to the United States, to the Caribbean, Latin America, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa as well. So that'll be interesting. We talked about Marriott probably about a week or so ago, where they talked about that they are just really going after mass, the most amount of rooms. I don't know how you go from a regionalized entity that you're creating in India and then be able to literally spread it around the world that fast. I don't know if it's going to really be able to keep that supposed regional feel, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with it. And Lissandro, thanks so much. Appreciate you stopping in, sir. Appreciate you being able to check out the live. And let's see what we got here. So Bilt doing it again. Now, Bilt seems to give something and then take away something, and doesn't seem to have any of their act together, unfortunately, which is why I bring this up. So we found out today that Qatar is going to be, well, not going to be, they are now the new transfer partner with Bilt, which is outstanding. You can do transfers as of right now. It's live. Transfers are supposed to be instantaneous, and of course on the same 1-to-1 scale, ratio rather. So that's great to hear about. They are really building one of the strongest partnership transfers of anybody that is out there. But then you see this kind of stuff where they don't seem to know what they're necessarily doing. It was not even a month ago when Bilt announced that if you used a Visa, MasterCard, or Discover to pay rent, you would receive 1 Bilt point for each dollar, and you would obviously be able to earn points on the card. And then American Express would be 1 Bilt point for every $2. Well, that is already over, essentially. Starting on July 21st, all cards will earn the same 1 point for each $2. That's definitely not ideal for that. Now what we're kind of left with is the Alaska Airlines Visa Signature Card still has the deal with the 3x Alaska miles when you're paying rent. Now, you do have to pay that 3% processing fee. And all of these cards any card that you do will have the 100,000 annual cap for Bilt points that you can earn. What they did say that I thought was interesting was they would have new deals with other travel partners. Now, obviously, when you're talking about Air France and KLM, that doesn't mean a whole bunch because there's so many places where you can generate Air France KLM points. But what about if they did something with the co-branded credit card for Hyatt? Now that sounds like something that would be very interesting. But we'll have to see what they're going to do. But that's my hope, if they're going to go with deals with other travel partners, is to give a little taste of Hyatt, but boy, it will cost them a bundle to do it. But I'm hoping for the best, and we will see what ends up happening with that. Then we have a look at Starlux. Now they're going to begin flying out of Phoenix. That is actually my flight to Taipei. I ideally would have wanted to fly Starlux. I just couldn't find some of that good pricing with using Alaska Miles to be able to do it. And then KLM, Air France had a good deal of being able to fly business class on China Air for 61 or 65,000 miles each way in business class. And so I jumped on that one to take the flight to Taipei next year. So, but let's talk about what Starlux is doing there in Phoenix. So flights will commence to Taipei in early 2026. There'll be 3 or 4 flights per week that are expected. And Starlux currently flies out of LAX, Ontario, California. San Francisco and Seattle are the places in the United States that they are there. Phoenix will be the airline's longest flight, and that'll be over 7,100 miles to go from Phoenix to Taipei. Now, the flights will be in their A350s, which is pretty standard for Starlux, 4 first class, 26 business, 36 premium economy, and then 240 in economy. Now, Starlux, if you haven't heard, is a new airline, and I say new being, I think, a couple years at the most right now. But they are really highly rated for the brand new aircrafts and their hard and soft product. At least from the reviews I've seen, they're just the business class is really nice. Now, Phoenix kind of caught me off guard of why Phoenix. Well, there was a few things that I did not know, and so I want to share that with you. It's the nation's 5th largest city. I definitely didn't think that. It's the first ever nonstop route to Asia out of Phoenix. So they totally are providing the Asian connection for them, whereas American Airlines gets you to Europe, and then Air France, KLM gets you to another location as far as nonstops. Now, Starlux has a partnership with Alaska, which we all know. And if there was a relationship to become part of One World, Phoenix would be an excellent location because of the infrastructure that American Airlines has there with their hub. And the emergence as a tech hub for Phoenix, because Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company will be investing $165 million in its Phoenix facility. And when it comes to ownership, while Taiwan Semiconductor is not owned by the country of Taiwan, it is the largest shareholder. So it might as well be the owner of it, as it is for Starlux, as well as Eva Air. So that's kind of the reasons that we are seeing of why Phoenix was selected for it. So it made a little bit more sense to me when I ended up hearing that. So that's kind of the of what we're kind of looking at for that. Want to make sure if there's to touch on a couple of last things. I did put out a video for the rumor $795 Chase Sapphire Reserve, just to kind of provide some of my thoughts and how they're definitely kind of going in line with the American Express Platinum. But if those numbers come up as they're talking about, I'm interested. I'll also be having my first 30 days with the Mesa credit card. Mesa, if you all don't remember, we talked about Bilt and Mesa. Bilt obviously already provides no service fee cost to doing your rent through Bilt with the Bilt credit card or Bilt rewards. Then you have the Mesa homeowners card that was talking about doing homeowner making mortgage payments at the same time that Bilt was talking about it. And I thought that Bilt was going to come out with it first because they said they were going to do it by the end of the year. Well, Mesa ended up coming off the wait list that started in November of 24, and they started doing the applications, processing them in February. I ended up getting the card in April, and I've used it for the first 30 days for regular purchases as well as doing my mortgage on it. And the twist with this is that you're not charging your mortgage to the credit card, though. So there is no service fee that's being created by it. What it is doing is that they are going to be, what they do is they link your bank account of wherever you're making the payment from. and then they give you the credit for those dollars that are involved. And so I will be having that video out on my first 30 days with the Mesa card, and whatever ups and downs, so that you know from me what my experience was. And if you end up looking at the card, that you at least will feel more comfortable whether you do it or you don't do it. So that's the main thing for that. And I see Matt is talking about that they just added, talking about adding Cafe Pacific. Um, I I had not seen that yet. I know about the ones that they had when they started off, and while there is a few eclectic, as I'll call it, Hainan Airlines and Vietnam Airlines, some eclectic ones. There is something to be done with them, and I will talk a little bit about that in the video for that. But those are coming. That'll be coming out probably Saturday. Right now, I've provided it to the members to kind of get the first look at it. And so, if you found any of this information beneficial, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I do these live streams every week for everybody, and then I also will have those videos coming out. And also, if you are interested potentially in being a member in the advisory board, I'll have a link in the description for it. I try to do the best I can to provide value and to thank people that are taking the time to support the channel beyond the viewing and the subscribers, which I sincerely appreciate. But for people that may want to do any more, I make sure to do a weekly live stream just for the members, as well as provide the videos earlier. And I also will send them different messages of different time-sensitive things that I might find that I come across. So I want to make sure if anybody's got questions or thoughts or anything for it. I see Points Blank Travel. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the shout out on the 1,000 subs. Really appreciate the support. Thank you so much. And want to make sure if any questions or anything else that we need to talk about, this is always the place to be able to do that. And if anytime that you have questions, please make sure to put them in the comments. Always happy to answer questions. And I'm definitely going to be looking at that Park Hyatt Tokyo reopening for Source King and get that out there. And I'll also, I know Matt's talking about the Cathay Pacific. That's good news. They need to, they are really starting from scratch with Mesa on the transfer partners, but they met my requirement of what I wanted to see. And I talk about that. I talked about in the previous video, ones that are part of the One World Sky Team alliances, and then one that can be able to, that has a currency you can play with, and they have Finnair on there so you can mess around with those Avios. So, but make sure to check out those videos for that. And I cannot thank you all enough for being on with me tonight. Really appreciate it. And make sure everybody has a great day. And thanks so much. I'll talk with you all soon.